I welcome all the MPCS second year students to the online classes. The summary of last lecture that we have discussed about diffraction. I have started unit 4 of your semester 4, that is diffraction. In the previous lecture, I have given introduction about diffraction. During this unit, we will discuss about two types of diffractions. One is Fraunhofer diffraction. Second one is Fresnel's diffraction. What is Fraunhofer diffraction? The name itself specifying first. Fraunhofer diffraction. You have to remember like this. What is Fraunhofer diffraction? When source and screen are placed at infinite distance from the slit. The diffraction at the slit is known as Fraunhofer diffraction. What is Fresnel's diffraction? When source and screen are placed at a limited distance or finite distance from the slit, the diffraction at the slit is known as Fresnel's diffraction. Before that, what is diffraction? What is this phenomenon? It is the phenomenon of light. How do we define diffraction? When light incident an obstacle whose size is comparable with the wavelength of light, then the light bends at the obstacle. This phenomenon is known as diffraction. So this total unit is divided into two parts. One is Fraunhofer diffraction, second one is Fresnel's diffraction. So here I am going to start the first part of this diffraction unit, that is Fraunhofer diffraction. So before going to discuss about that topic, we have to know an expression. That is, let us imagine we are having some n vibrations, n light waves, and they are traveling in a medium and they are impressing on a particle of the medium. The resultant amplitude of the particle due to those waves can be calculated by this formula. Resultant, this is the very important formula. This formula here I am going to use during this derivation. Resultant amplitude due to n waves. See, to understand this concept, let us consider this is one light wave, this is second wave, this is third wave. All are moving in same direction. So they are superimposing on a particle like this. So the resultant displacement of this particle, definitely the amplitude of the particle will be changes due to these waves. The resultant amplitude of the particle of the medium can be calculated by this formula, that is generally R for resultant R is equal to, let us imagine the amplitude of each and every wave is same and that value is equal to small a. So A resultant amplitude is equal to A sine of nd by 2 whole divided by sine d by 2. This is the formula which I am going to use in the derivation. I will explain each and every term. What is the small a? Small a is the amplitude of each and every wave. Small a is the amplitude of each and every wave. And what is n? N is the number of waves which are progressing in the medium. What is d? D is the phase difference between the waves, successive waves. Small d is the phase difference between the waves. N be the number of light waves, and A is the amplitude of each and every wave, which is same, and I am representing that is by A. And if all those waves are superimposing on each other, the resultant amplitude of the medium can be calculated by this formula. This is the very important formula. You have to remember this formula directly. Clear? Whenever we are going to calculate the resultant amplitude due to individual waves, we use this formula. Clear? Right. So first topic of this diffraction, that is very important topic. Fraunhofer diffraction. Fraunhofer diffraction due to single slit. Due to single slit. Single slit. So this is the very important topic. Question for 12 marks. Nowadays 12 marks question modified question paper. This question maybe comes for 20 marks. So very important question. Number of times this question asked in the annual examination. Just to concentrate. So Fraunhofer diffraction due to a single slit. Diffraction means bending of the light. Bending of the light at the obstacle is known as diffraction. Fraunhofer diffraction, when source and screen are placed at infinite distance from the slit, the diffraction at the slit is known as Fraunhofer diffraction. During Fraunhofer diffraction, the incident light on slit is, what is the shape of the incident wavefront on slit? Plane wavefront. Already I have explained in our previous lecture. Clear? Right. So here I am drawing the diagram for this experimental arrangement for this topic. Diagram is very important. Due to single slit. So here I am considering one slit. This is a slit whose width be, the width of the slit be small e. Let us consider a slit whose, right. So let us consider a slit whose width be small e. This is the slit I have considered. If the width of the slit is comparable with the incident light on it, the light will be deviates. The light exhibits diffraction. So this is the slit here I am considering. Okay, this is the position of the slit. What is the width of the slit? The width of the slit here I am representing like this. That is small e. Small e be the width of the slit. Is that clear? Right. So let us consider this is the position of the screen on which we can obtain the diffraction pattern. So what is the shape of the wavefront incidenting on this slit? That is plane wavefront. Generally waves are coming from infinite distance because we are discussing about Fraunhofer diffraction. So the incident waves are traveling through larger distances. So they becomes plane wavefront. This is the representation of plane wavefront, and this plane wavefront is incidenting on the slit whose width is small e. Here I am considering this is a plane. This is the representation of plane wavefront, and it is incidenting on this slit whose width is small e. This is plane incident wavefront, plane wavefront which is incidenting on this slit. Definitely when incident rays are incidenting on a slit, the incident rays will be deviates from its original direction. That phenomena is known as diffraction. To focus the diffraction pattern on the screen, we have to place a convex lens here. In the previous lecture only, I have explained. During Fraunhofer diffraction, we have to use lenses. This is Fraunhofer diffraction due to single slit. That is why here we have to use one convex lens. What happens? The rays which are traveling in horizontal direction will be focused by the convex lens at the center of the screen. These rays will not be deviated. The rays which are traveling parallel will not be deviated, and these rays will be focused by this convex lens at the center of the screen. This is the center of the screen. This is the center of the screen. So all incident rays forms the image at this point. Let the center of point here I am representing by P naught. The rays which are deviating from its original path, the rays which are deviating from its original path through how much angle? Theta. These are the incident rays which are deviated through how much angle with the initial direction? Theta direction. All these diffracted rays. So these rays are known as diffracted rays because they are passing through the slit. When incident rays are passing through the slit, definitely they exhibit diffraction. They undergo diffraction. These are diffracted rays which are focused by this convex lens. Instead of P naught, they focuses at P1. These are the diffracted beam which are deviated through how much angle? Theta angle. So instead of definitely they will be right. So these are diffracted beam forming the diffraction pattern at P1. I want to calculate the intensity of diffraction image at P1. Definitely at P naught always we observe bright fringe only because this is the center point of this screen. So the center point always we observe bright fringe because it is at equal distances from the given slit. There is no path difference between the rays who are approaching to it. If there is no path difference, the corresponding, if the path difference is 0, the corresponding fringe formed by those rays is always bright. Already we have discussed this type of concept in interference chapter only. So our aim is to calculate what is the shape of, what is the image formed at P1. I want to calculate the intensity of light at P1. Is that clear? So to calculate the intensity of light at P1, here I am drawing a normal. Let the name of the slit be AB, whose width be small e. The width of the slit be small e, and to calculate the path difference between the rays, here I am drawing a normal from A to let this is AC. Name of the slit be AC. The normal drawn on this BR, here I am representing as AB. AB be the normal drawn on BR. Is that clear? Right. Why I am drawing this normal means from these 2 points, just concentrate on the rays which are reaching P1. Don't concentrate on P0. So our aim is to calculate the resultant intensity at P1 due to these diffracted rays. Further, we need to calculate the path difference between the incident rays. To calculate the path difference between the incident rays, here I am drawing a normal. What is the name of this normal? AB. So from A and B points, both the diffracted rays takes equal times, equal intervals of time. From these 2 points, there is no path difference between these 2 rays. Then what is the path difference between these 2 rays, first and last rays? This will be the path difference between the first ray and second ray. From these 2 points, they are traveling through equal distances in equal intervals of time. There is no path difference. But my aim to calculate the path difference between these 2 rays. This will be the path difference. This is the extra distance traveled by the second ray when compared to first ray from A and C. So BC will be the path difference between first ray and second ray. Clear? Right. So if this is theta, according to geometrical properties, this will be also equal to theta. According to geometrical properties, if these angle of deviations are theta, definitely this angle must be equal to how much theta. What is my aim? I want to calculate the path difference between these 2 rays, that is BC. So to calculate path difference, I have assumed a normal. What is the name of the normal? AB. Is it clear? So from triangle ABC, it is a right angle triangle ABC. My aim to calculate BC value. Sin theta is equal to, what is the formula for sin? Opposite side of theta, that is BC, by hypotenuse. Opposite to 90 degrees is, this is 90 degrees. Opposite to 90 degrees is hypotenuse. So AC will be the hypotenuse. But what is my aim? I want to calculate path difference between these 2 rays, that is BC. My aim to calculate BC value. BC is equal to, on cross multiplication, AC into sin theta. What is the length of AC? Length of AC is nothing but that is the width of the slit. Its value equal to how much? Small e. So AC value equal to small e, which is equal to the width of the slit into sin theta. Let this is equation number 1. Equation number 1 represent, that is path difference between the first and last ray. I have calculated the path difference between the 2 rays. Clear? So from this we can calculate phase difference. Already we have discussed the relation between phase difference between the rays and path difference between the rays during the interference unit. What is the relation between path difference and phase difference? So the phase difference between the 2 rays which are coming from A and C, that is equal to the total phase difference between these 2 rays I want to calculate. What is the relation? 2 pi by lambda into path difference. 2 pi by lambda into path difference. So this formula generally we use this whenever we are going to calculate phase difference if we have path difference. Clear? Substitute equation 1 in equation 2. So you can calculate the phase difference between the 2 rays which are coming from A and C. So phase difference between the 2 rays is equal to 2 pi by lambda into E sin theta. Let this is equation number 3. Imagine what is our aim? Our aim is to calculate the resultant intensity at P1 due to these diffracted rays. So before that we have to assume this slit, this single slit. What is the width of this slit? Small e. This single slit is divided into n successive slits. Imagine like that. Actually this is not happened. But let us imagine the single slit is divided into, let us assume, this is our imagination only. Let us assume the single slit is divided into how many slits? N slits. The amplitude of the wave, let the amplitude of the wave, here I am writing this as second point. Let the amplitude of the each wave from each slit be small a. Let the phase difference between the successive slits be small d. This is all these points are our assumptions only. Here I am considering this whole slit is divided into small slits, n number of slits. Is that clear? Right? And one more thing, the amplitude of each and every wave from the slit, here I am assuming as how much small a. That is the second point. One more thing, the phase difference between the two successive waves which are coming from each slit, here I am assuming a small d. So this is our imagination only. Actually our topic is about single slit. So single slit, but here I am assuming the single slit is dividing into n slits. Is that clear? So how many waves are coming from these n slits? N waves will come in. So those n waves are coming from these slits and they are superimposing, forming an image at P1. Is that clear? I want to calculate the resultant amplitude at P1. So how do we calculate resultant amplitude? The resultant, what is the phase difference between the successive slits? Phase difference between the successive slit already I have assumed as d. But already we have calculated the phase difference between first and the last slits. First and last slit as how much? 2 pi by lambda into E sin theta. What is d? That is the phase difference between the successive slits. How do we calculate this d value? We are having the total phase difference between first and last points. But I want to calculate phase difference between any two successive slits. How do we calculate? Simply by dividing this total phase difference by how many times? N times, because this whole slit is divided into how many slits? N slits. That is why this total phase difference also divided into how many parts? N parts. So the phase difference between each part I am assuming already as d. Its value equal to how much? That is total phase difference. Total phase difference is divided into how many parts? N parts. Let this is equation number 4. So just to substitute this equation 3 in equation 4. So here I want to calculate the phase difference between neighboring slits or successive slits. So simply here I am substituting equation 3 in equation 4. Equation 3 in equation 4. So the phase difference between the neighboring slits is equal to, what is total phase difference? That is 2 pi by lambda into E sin theta. 2 pi by lambda into E sin theta whole divided by n. Let this is equation number 5. So the total slit is divided into n slits and n waves are coming from n slits and they are focused by this convex lens at P1. So the resultant amplitude due to those n waves at P1 I can calculate by using this formula, right? The resultant amplitude due to n waves at P1. Therefore, the resultant amplitude at P1 is this can be calculated by using which formula, that is A is the amplitude from each slit. So that already I have assumed during this derivation only. So let the amplitude of the wave from each slit I have assumed as A only. So you can use this formula A only. This is the formula which I am going to use. A sin of nd by 2 whole divided by sin d by 2. D is the phase difference. N is the number of waves or number of slits. A is the amplitude from each slit. R is the resultant amplitude at P1. Let this is equation number 6. Substitute equation 5 in equation 6. You can calculate the resultant amplitude at P1. So simply here I am substituting equation 5 in equation 6. So the resultant amplitude will be how much? R is equal to A into sin of small n by 2 into what is the d value here? What is the d value here? This one 2 pi by lambda. I am writing this value 2 pi by lambda E sin theta whole divided by n whole divided by sin d by 2 sin of what is d value? Again I am substituting this value 2 pi by lambda of E sin theta. Is that clear? Right. One n gets cancelled. 2 gets cancelled. Is that clear? So finally we get formula as this is already n sin d by 2. So this is sin d by 2. Already in this d value we are having 1 n. 1 2 gets cancelled. So R is equal to resultant amplitude at P1 is equal to A sin of what are the terms remain in the bracket? Pi E sin theta by lambda. Coming to the denominator, pi E sin of pi E sin theta by n lambda. Let this is equation number 7. I have calculated the resultant amplitude due to n waves at P1 as equation number 7. To solve equation 7, here I am assuming, let us consider, this is a very important step, let pi E sin theta by lambda, here I am assuming as some alpha. Just to substitute equation 8 in equation 7. So the expression equation 7 becomes R is equal to A, this numerator becomes sin alpha, this denominator becomes sin of alpha, this is alpha by n. Clear? Let this is equation number 9. See the equation 9 carefully. See the denominator. As alpha is dividing into how many parts? N parts. So when angle is divided into n parts, definitely its value is decreasing. When theta is a very small value, sin theta can be written as theta only. This is in our, according to our physics, to get the final expression. Generally we do like this. Clear? So as alpha by n is a small angle, as alpha by n is very small, it is a very small value, therefore sine of alpha by n also can be written as alpha by n. When theta is a very small value, sine theta can be written as theta. Let this is equation number 10. So substitute equation 10 in equation 9, you will get the final expression. Substitute equation 10 in equation 9. So the final expression will be like this. That is, the final expression, the resultant amplitude at P1 will be R is equal to A sin alpha whole divided by, this becomes alpha by n. This also can be written as n goes into the numerator and multiplies the numerator, it becomes NA into sin alpha whole divided by alpha. See this NA. What is A? That is the amplitude of each and every wave which are coming from each slit. N, what is N? That is the number of slit. So if A is multiplied with N number, you can calculate the total amplitude due to these waves whose amplitude is small a. So NA is nothing but amplitude only, that is total amplitude or resultant amplitude at P1. So R is equal to, here I am assuming this as capital A for amplitude only. Clear? Small a is the amplitude of each and every wave coming from each slit. NA is the resultant amplitude that I am representing as A. Sin alpha whole divided by alpha. So this is the final expression. This is the resultant amplitude at P1. These waves are diffracted. These are the diffracted rays due to this single slit. These diffracted rays superimposing on each other and forming a diffraction fringe at P1. The resultant amplitude at P1, here I have calculated as A sin alpha by alpha, where alpha is equal to how much? Where alpha is equal to how much? Pi e sin theta by lambda. This value is a very important value. We are going to use this value in our next derivation also. You have to remember what is alpha? Pi e sin theta by lambda. Okay? I have calculated resultant amplitude at P1. From this I can calculate resultant intensity at P1. What is the relation between intensity and amplitude? So resultant intensity at P1. There we are having a relation between intensity and amplitude. If amplitude is squared, we get intensity. Whenever we are having amplitude of the wave, we can calculate intensity of that wave. Simply by squaring the amplitude, you can calculate intensity. Therefore, intensity is equal to square of the amplitude. Let this is equation number 12. Substitute 11 in 12. Substitute equation 11 in equation 12. So the resultant intensity at P1 will be I is equal to, each and every term will be squared. So A becomes A square. This sin alpha by alpha also gets squared. Is that clear? So what is A? A is nothing but amplitude. Capital A is also amplitude. When amplitude is squared, we get intensity. So this term also gives intensity, that is incident intensity on the slit. The intensity of the light, incidenting intensity of the light on slit, here I am representing by, this term I am representing by I naught of sin alpha by alpha whole square. This is the final expression of this derivation. and we have to draw the diagrams for this diffraction pattern. We have to calculate what is the condition for maxima, what is the condition for minimum intensity, what are the conditions for secondary maxima, and finally we have to represent all the diffraction pattern on the board. So that we will discuss in our next class, and I will continue this topic in our next class. Until then, bye bye.